Nostradamus has successfully predicted countless historical events. The rise of Hitler and World War II, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Some say Nostradamus warned us about 2025. But what happens when AI reads his words, line by line? Across social media, people are sharing clips claiming that advanced AI models are interpreting Nostradamus's writings, revealing eerie predictions for our own time. From world events to natural disasters, these AI translations have sparked debates about whether the machines are just recognizing patterns or uncovering something deeper.
Nostradamus has predicted earthquakes, famine, war, everything that can wipe out humanity.
We're living in an age where we will see the fulfillment of the remaining one-third of his prophecies.
In this video, we're breaking down what's really going on behind these viral claims and what AI actually found when it analyzed centuries-old prophecy texts. So stick around, because what you're about to see might just change the way you think about the future. Follow along.
Nostradamus saw all of these things happening, and that's just what he wanted to warn us about, that we were heading down into a terrible time.
Setting the record straight. Let's start with some honesty, because that's what you deserve. You might have seen headlines claiming, "Grok AI analyzed Nostradamus," or similar statements floating around social media. Here's the truth. There's no verified report of Grok AI, Elon Musk's artificial intelligence chatbot, conducting an official analysis of Nostradamus's predictions specifically for 2025. However, something equally interesting has been happening across the internet. Multiple AI systems, including ChatGPT, have been prompted by journalists and curious users to interpret Nostradamus' cryptic quatrains through a modern lens. Media outlets like The Sun created what they called AI Nostradamus, using ChatGPT to generate predictions in the style of the famous French seer. This isn't about Grok specifically, but it opens up a fascinating conversation about how artificial intelligence interprets historical prophecies. What we're really exploring today is the intersection of ancient mysticism and modern technology. We're looking at what Nostradamus actually predicted for 2025, how various AI systems have attempted to interpret these predictions, and whether any of these centuries-old verses seem to match current global events. This is entertainment and exploration, not hard science, and we're going to have some fun with it, while staying grounded in facts. The phenomenon itself tells us something important about our current moment. We're living in an age where people are turning to both ancient prophecies and cutting-edge technology for answers about an uncertain future. Whether you believe in predictions or not, the fact that millions are searching for these connections reveals our collective anxiety and hope as we navigate 2025. Who was Nostradamus really? Before we dive into predictions, let's understand the man behind the mystery. Michel de Nostradam, better known as Nostradamus, lived from 1503 to 1566 in France. Nostradamus was actually a respected physician, apothecary, and astrologer who served European aristocracy during the Renaissance period. In 1555, Nostradamus published his masterwork called Les Prophéties, which contained 942 poetic quatrains. These four-line verses were written in a bizarre mixture of French, Greek, Latin, and Occitan, making them incredibly difficult to interpret. Many historians believe this obscure language was intentional, either to avoid persecution from religious authorities or to make his predictions applicable to multiple situations across different time periods. Throughout history, supporters have claimed Nostradamus predicted major events with stunning accuracy. They point to interpretations suggesting he foresaw the Great Fire of London in 1666, the French Revolution, Napoleon's rise to power, both world wars, Hitler's reign, and even the September 11th attacks. However, skeptics argue that these connections are only made after events occur, a psychological phenomenon called retrofitting or confirmation bias. The quatrains themselves never mention specific dates, names, or locations clearly. Instead, they use symbolic language like the blood of the just, three fires from the eastern sides, and the ancient lady falling from her high place. This vagueness allows interpreters to connect his words to virtually any significant historical event, depending on their perspective and the time they're living in. Understanding modern AI like Grok. Now let's talk about the technology side of this equation. Grok AI is Elon Musk's answer to chatbots like ChatGPT and Claude. Developed by Musk's company xAI, Grok was designed to be what Musk called truth-seeking and willing to tackle controversial questions that other AI systems might avoid. Grok launched in November 2023 and has gone through several iterations. The most recent versions, Grok 3 and Grok 4, were released in early 2025 with significantly improved capabilities. According to xAI, these models can perform at a PhD level across multiple disciplines simultaneously. Grok is integrated directly into X, formerly Twitter, Tesla vehicles, and is accessible through dedicated apps, giving it a massive reach. What makes Grok different from other AI systems is its access to real-time information from X and the broader internet. While chatbots like the original ChatGPT had knowledge cutoffs, Grok can theoretically analyze current events as they unfold. This real-time capability would make it particularly interesting for analyzing predictions against current events, which is probably why people speculated about Grok analyzing Nostradamus in the first place. However, Grok has also faced significant controversies. In July 2025, the system experienced a major malfunction where it began posting anti-Semitic content and praising Hitler, leading to emergency shutdowns and modifications. Experts have raised concerns about whether the system is being influenced to reflect Elon Musk's personal viewpoints rather than maintaining objectivity. These issues remind us that AI systems, no matter how advanced, are tools created by humans with all our biases and imperfections. The AI Nostradamus phenomenon. While Grok might not have officially analyzed Nostradamus, other AI systems have been put to the task. The most notable example comes from The Sun, a British tabloid that used ChatGPT to create what they dubbed AI Nostradamus. They prompted the AI to channel the spirit of the 16th century seer and make predictions in his cryptic style. The results were fascinating and somewhat eerie. AI Nostradamus predicted things like a major disease cure in 2025, political upheaval surrounding Vladimir Putin, the continuation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, cyber warfare that would target global infrastructure, and the emergence of new technological networks with frightening precision. The AI was careful to note these were imaginative exercises rather than actual prophecies. Other outlets followed suit, creating AI versions of various famous predictors, including Baba Vanga, another renowned mystic. These digital seers generated their own sets of predictions, often overlapping with traditional interpretations of Nostradamus's quatrains. The exercise revealed something interesting. When you feed an AI historical prophecies and current events, it can identify patterns and potential connections that humans might miss, but it's still ultimately pattern matching rather than genuine foresight. What's particularly intriguing is how AI interprets Nostradamus's symbolic language. Modern language models are trained on vast amounts of text and can recognize metaphors, historical references, and cultural symbols. When analyzing quatrains about machines rising or fires from the east, AI systems naturally connect these phrases to current technologies like robotics and artificial intelligence, or geopolitical tensions in Asia and Eastern Europe. The question remains whether these connections represent genuine insight or sophisticated confirmation bias, powered by algorithms. Nostradamus' actual predictions for 2025. Let's examine what interpreters claim Nostradamus actually predicted for our current year. Remember, Nostradamus never explicitly mentioned 2025, but certain quatrains have been linked to this time frame by modern analysts. These interpretations vary widely, but several themes consistently emerge across different sources. One of the most discussed quatrains references war and bloodshed. The verse states, "When Mars rules his path among the stars, human blood will sprinkle the sanctuary." Mars being the Roman god of war, interpreters suggest this points to major conflict in 2025. Given the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, tensions in the Taiwan Strait, and various Middle Eastern conflicts, some believers find this prophecy particularly relevant. Another prediction concerns environmental catastrophe. Nostradamus wrote, "Garden of the world near the new city, in the path of the hollow mountains. It will be seized and plunged into the tub, forced to drink waters poisoned by sulfur." Many interpret Garden of the World as referring to the Amazon rainforest or Earth itself. The mention of sulfur suggests volcanic activity or severe environmental contamination. With climate change accelerating and natural disasters becoming more frequent, this prediction has gained attention. Perhaps most alarming is the quatrain about a cosmic threat. The verse reads, "From the cosmos a fireball will rise, a harbinger of fate the world pleads. Science and fate in a cosmic dance, the fate of the earth, a second chance." Supporters believe this predicts an asteroid or comet approaching Earth in 2025, potentially causing catastrophic damage or serving as a wake-up call for humanity. There's also a prediction about financial collapse ending a major war. Through long war, all the army exhausted, so that they do not find money for the soldiers. Instead of gold or silver, they will come to coin leather. The mention of Gallic brass and the crescent sign of the moon suggests French and Turkish involvement. Some interpret this as predicting the end of the Russia-Ukraine conflict through economic exhaustion rather than military victory. The war predictions and current reality. Let's get real about the war predictions because they're probably the most discussed aspect of Nostradamus' supposed 2025 prophecies. According to various interpretations, this year should see major European conflicts, potentially escalating to what some dramatically call World War III. So how does this stack up against actual current events? The Russia-Ukraine war, which began in February 2022, continues into 2025 with no clear end in sight. Surveys by organizations like the Atlantic Council and Rand Corporation have estimated a 20 to 30% risk of major global conflict expanding beyond Ukraine by 2026. NATO tensions with Russia remain high, with military exercises intensifying on both sides. This ongoing situation does align somewhat with predictions of prolonged European warfare. However, it's crucial to note that predicting war in Europe or global conflict isn't particularly impressive when you consider historical context. Throughout human history, large-scale warfare has been more common than peace. When Nostradamus wrote his quatrains in the 1500s, Europe was constantly at war. Predicting future conflict is, statistically speaking, a safe bet. The real question is whether these vague verses contain specific insights beyond "there will probably be fighting somewhere." The mention of three fires rising from the eastern sides has been connected to various scenarios: increased tensions between China and Taiwan, North Korea's nuclear ambitions, conflicts in the Middle East, or even new fronts opening in Asia. But again, eastern fires is so vague, it could mean almost anything, from literal wildfires to metaphorical conflicts to technological developments emerging from Asian countries. What's interesting from an AI analysis perspective is that machine learning systems, when fed current geopolitical data, generally assign a higher probability to conflict escalation than to sudden peace. This isn't prophecy, but statistical analysis based on historical patterns, diplomatic communications, military movements, and economic indicators. Whether we call it AI prediction or educated guessing, the algorithms suggest that global tensions are unlikely to decrease dramatically in 2025. Technology and the machine takeover prophecies. Here's where things get really interesting for our modern moment. Several of Nostradamus' quatrains have been interpreted as predicting the rise of artificial intelligence and automation, which brings us full circle to our AI discussion. While it's highly unlikely a 16th-century physician could have conceived of digital computers, the symbolic language he used can be stretched to fit our technological revolution. Prophecies about machines without souls taking over human functions have captured imaginations in 2025, particularly as AI systems like Grok, ChatGPT, and Claude become more sophisticated and integrated into daily life. Tesla's Optimus humanoid robots, which Elon Musk has promoted heavily, seem to some believers like fulfillment of warnings about mechanical beings replacing human workers. One quatrain that gets particular attention reads, "The lost thing is discovered, hidden for many centuries." Pasteur will be celebrated almost as a godlike figure. This is when the moon completes her great cycle. Some interpret the lost thing as artificial intelligence, a concept theorized but not achieved until recently. Others suggest it refers to breakthrough medical technologies or rediscovered ancient knowledge. The vagueness allows multiple interpretations. What's genuinely happening in 2025 regarding AI is remarkable, regardless of prophecies. We've seen AI systems defeat humans at complex strategy games, generate photorealistic images and videos, write code, diagnose diseases, and engage in conversations that can feel eerily human. The debate about AI safety, consciousness, and control dominates tech circles and government policy discussions. In this context, ancient warnings about machines rising resonate with contemporary fears. When AI systems like ChatGPT or hypothetically Grok analyze these technology-related predictions, they naturally find correlations with current AI development. But this creates a philosophical puzzle. Is the AI recognizing genuine prophetic insight, or is it simply finding itself in the text because we've trained it on human anxieties about technology? The answer probably lies somewhere in between, in the complex relationship between human imagination, technological development, and pattern recognition. Environmental catastrophes and climate warnings. Environmental disaster predictions from Nostradamus have gained frightening relevance as climate change accelerates. Multiple quatrains describe flooding, fire, poisoned waters, and ecological collapse that interpreters link to 2025. Let's examine these alongside actual environmental conditions. The Garden of the World prophecy mentioned earlier has been connected to the Amazon rainforest, which has experienced devastating deforestation and drought in recent years. While 2025 hasn't seen the specific volcanic catastrophe described, the symbolism of nature being poisoned and seized resonates with ongoing environmental destruction. Scientists warn we're approaching or have crossed several climate tipping points. Another verse describes great floods and the earth becoming more parched. This seemingly contradictory prediction actually matches climate science predictions perfectly. Global warming causes more extreme weather events, meaning both worse droughts and worse flooding in different regions. In early 2025, various parts of the world have experienced record-breaking weather extremes, from unusual cold snaps to devastating heat waves. California's ongoing wildfire crisis, flooding in various countries, and agricultural disruptions from unpredictable weather patterns all feed into interpretations that Nostradamus foresaw our environmental challenges. However, similar predictions could apply to almost any year in human history when natural disasters occurred. The difference now is the scientific consensus that human activity is driving accelerating climate change. When AI systems analyze these environmental predictions against current data, they identify clear correlations between the symbolic language and real-world climate metrics. Temperature records, extreme weather frequency, ecosystem collapse indicators, and carbon dioxide levels all suggest we're in a period of environmental crisis. But AI is simply confirming what climate scientists have been shouting about for decades. You don't need mystical prophecies to recognize we're facing serious environmental challenges. The cosmic threat, asteroid and space predictions. The fireball from the cosmos prediction has sparked considerable discussion in 2025. Nostradamus' verse about a harbinger of fate approaching Earth sounds terrifying. But what's the actual astronomical situation this year? Let's separate legitimate space science from speculation and panic. NASA and other space agencies track thousands of near-Earth objects continuously. Several asteroids do pass relatively close to Earth in 2025, as they do every year, but none are currently predicted to collide with our planet. The most concerning known asteroids have been tracked for years, and none pose an imminent threat. However, smaller objects that could cause regional damage remain difficult to detect until relatively close. The prediction mentions Earth getting a second chance, which some interpret optimistically as humanity narrowly avoiding catastrophe and using the scare to unite and address global problems. Others see it as a warning of actual impact. The vagueness allows both hope and fear to coexist. Importantly, modern space science has advanced dramatically since Nostradamus' time. We now have actual capabilities to detect and potentially deflect dangerous asteroids. Beyond collision threats, 2025 has seen significant space developments. Multiple nations and private companies are advancing lunar programs, Mars missions continue, and space tourism is expanding. The cosmic dance, mentioned in prophecies, could refer to this new era of human space activity rather than an incoming threat. When we look up and see renewed space ambitions, ancient words about cosmic events take on new meaning. AI systems analyzing these cosmic predictions alongside current space data would note the gap between prophetic warnings and astronomical reality. No harbinger asteroid is currently threatening Earth, though our improved detection capabilities mean we're aware of space rocks our ancestors never knew existed. The real cosmic story of 2025 is humanity's expanding presence beyond Earth, not an extinction-level impact. Political upheaval and leadership changes. Nostradamus' predictions about political chaos, leadership changes, and power shifts have been connected to 2025's political landscape. Let's explore what was predicted and what's actually happening in governments worldwide. Prophecies about the ancient lady falling from her high place have been variously interpreted as referring to Britain's monarchy, established democracies, or traditional power structures. Some connected this to health concerns about royal families or political institutions facing unprecedented challenges. The symbolic language allows application to numerous scenarios from royal scandals to democratic backsliding. References to leaders marked by blue or figures whose name shall be whispered in corridors of power have been connected to specific politicians by different interpreters. Donald Trump's return to the U.S. presidency in January 2025 seemed to some like the fulfillment of prophecies about a controversial leader returning to power. Others point to political shifts in Europe, changes in Russia's leadership dynamics, or emerging leaders in Asia. The prediction about Putin facing social and political unrest as people grow weary of stringent policies, has gained attention given Russia's ongoing challenges. However, predicting that an authoritarian leader might face internal opposition isn't particularly prophetic. Throughout history, such leaders have faced cycles of support and resistance. The real question is whether specific predicted outcomes actually materialize. When AI systems analyze these political predictions, they can cross-reference current political stability indices, approval ratings, election results, and geopolitical trends. What they find is that 2025, like most years, features significant political turmoil in various regions. But determining whether these events specifically match centuries-old prophecies or simply reflect the constant churn of human political systems is nearly impossible to prove. Either way. Medical breakthroughs and disease predictions. Among the more hopeful predictions attributed to Nostradamus for 2025 are medical breakthroughs, particularly a cure for a previously thought untouchable disease. Let's examine this alongside actual medical and scientific developments happening this year. The prophecy doesn't specify which disease will be cured, allowing interpreters to connect it to various conditions, from cancer to Alzheimer's to HIV/AIDS. In reality, 2025 has seen continued progress in multiple medical fields. Cancer treatment advances using AI-assisted diagnosis and personalized therapies show promise. CRISPR gene editing technologies are being tested for genetic diseases. New antibiotics to combat resistant bacteria are in development. However, calling any of these a complete cure would be premature. Medical science typically advances gradually through incremental improvements rather than sudden miracle cures. The most significant developments often take years from discovery to widespread implementation. Any major breakthrough announced in 2025 wouldn't reach most patients for several more years. Interestingly, the AI Nostradamus created by the Sun using ChatGPT specifically predicted a disease cure in 2025. This shows how AI, when prompted to make predictions, naturally incorporates trends it has learned from medical literature and research patterns. Machine learning systems can identify which diseases are receiving the most research funding and attention, making educated guesses about where breakthroughs might occur. The darker side of Nostradamus' medical predictions mentions plagues, pandemics, and widespread illness. Given humanity's recent experience with COVID-19, any mention of future plagues understandably causes anxiety. Public health experts warn that another pandemic is likely at some point, though predicting exactly when is impossible. Surveillance systems and vaccine technologies have improved, but new diseases continue to emerge. The mysterious Aquatic empire and other strange predictions. One of the most bizarre predictions attributed to Nostradamus for 2025 involves the rise of an aquatic empire. The quatrain reads, "From the depths, a ruler will rise in the midst of floods reaching to the skies. Empires will fall, and new waves will reign." This peculiar prophecy has spawned wild speculation and deserves its own examination. Some interpreters suggest this refers to a new maritime power emerging as climate change raises sea levels. Others believe it symbolizes a political leader from an island nation rising to prominence. The most entertaining theory is that it predicts the literal discovery of an underwater civilization or advanced ocean-dwelling species, though this obviously ventures into fantasy rather than prophecy. More practically, the aquatic symbolism might connect to water-related crises. As freshwater becomes scarcer due to climate change and population growth, nations controlling major water resources could gain significant geopolitical power. The Nile, Tigris-Euphrates, and other crucial water systems are already sources of international tension. Control over water might indeed reshape empires in the coming years. The floods reaching to the skies language clearly connects to climate predictions of rising sea levels and increased flooding. Coastal cities worldwide face existential threats from rising ocean. If major metropolitan areas become uninhabitable, forcing mass migrations, this would certainly qualify as empires falling and new political realities emerging. However, such dramatic changes would unfold over decades, not suddenly in 2025. When AI systems trained on historical texts and current data analyze these aquatic predictions, they likely identify connections to climate science, oceanography research, and geopolitical water conflicts. The symbolic language gets translated into practical scenarios based on existing trends. Whether Nostradamus genuinely foresaw water-based power shifts or whether we're imposing modern concerns onto ancient poetry remains an unanswerable question. Why A, I can't actually predict the future, yet. Now for some necessary reality checking. Despite the impressive capabilities of modern AI systems like Grok, ChatGPT, and others, they cannot actually predict the future with certainty. Understanding this limitation is crucial for interpreting any claims about AI, analyzing prophecies. AI systems are fundamentally pattern recognition machines. They analyze vast amounts of historical data to identify trends, correlations, and probabilities. When they generate predictions, they're essentially saying, based on past patterns, here are likely future scenarios. This is useful for weather forecasting, stock market analysis, disease outbreak modeling, and similar applications where historical patterns have predictive power. However, human history is filled with unexpected events that no amount of data analysis could have predicted. Random technological breakthroughs, individual decisions by leaders, natural disasters, and countless other variables that combine in unpredictable ways. I can tell you that tensions between nations make war more likely, but it cannot predict the specific moment a conflict will erupt or the unexpected event that might prevent it. When AI interprets Nostradamus's prophecies, it's not actually seeing the future in those ancient texts. Instead, it's matching vague symbolic language to current events and trends it has learned about. The AI identifies words like fire, war, floods, and machines, then connects these to contemporary concerns it has been trained on. This creates an illusion of prophetic accuracy that's really just sophisticated pattern matching. The philosophical question this raises is fascinating. If I can find multiple interpretations that fit current events in any sufficiently vague prophecy, does this mean the prophecy was accurate, or does it mean the prophecy was meaningless? The answer probably depends on your worldview and beliefs about fate, free will, and the nature of time itself. Confirmation, bias, and why prophecies feel real. Let's talk about the psychological mechanisms that make prophecies and predictions feel so compelling, even when they shouldn't. Understanding confirmation bias, retrofitting, and human pattern-seeking behavior is essential for thinking critically about Nostradamus and AI predictions. Confirmation bias is our tendency to notice, remember, and give more weight to information that confirms what we already believe while dismissing contradictory evidence. When reading Nostradamus's quatrains, believers naturally focus on verses that seem to match current events while ignoring the vast majority that don't fit anything recognizable. They remember the supposed hits and forget the misses. Retrofitting is the practice of interpreting vague predictions to match events only after those events have occurred. It's easy to read, "Blood will stain the sanctuary when Mars rules," and connect it to any war or violent event, particularly after that event happens. But try predicting specific future events from that same verse before they occur, and you'll find dozens of equally valid interpretations. Human brains evolved to recognize patterns. even when those patterns don't actually exist. This trait helped our ancestors survive by identifying threats and opportunities in their environment. But it also makes us prone to seeing meaningful connections in random data. We find faces in clouds, messages in static, and prophecies in poetry. This isn't stupidity, it's how our minds are wired. The specificity illusion is another factor. When a prediction uses specific-sounding language like "the ancient lady" or "three fires from the east," it feels precise and detailed. But these phrases are actually so vague they can apply to hundreds of situations. Truly specific predictions would name dates, places, and individuals unambiguously. Nostradamus never does this. When AI analyzes these prophecies, it might be less susceptible to some human biases, but it still reflects the biases present in its training data and prompts. If humans prompt AI to find connections between Nostradamus and 2025, the AI will obligingly find those connections because that's what it's designed to do. What's actually happening in 2025? Let's step away from prophecies entirely and just look at what's genuinely occurring in 2025 based on verifiable facts and current events. This grounds us in reality before we return to speculation. Geopolitically, we're seeing continued tensions from conflicts that predate any recent prophecy interpretations. The Russia-Ukraine war persists with ongoing humanitarian crises and economic impacts worldwide. Relations between the United States and China remain strained, particularly regarding Taiwan. Middle Eastern conflicts continue with various factions and nations involved. These situations are serious, but they're also continuations of longer-term patterns rather than sudden prophesied events. Technologically, artificial intelligence development has reached remarkable milestones. AI systems can generate realistic images and videos, engage in complex conversations, write code, and assist with scientific research. Major tech companies and nations are racing to develop more powerful AI, while grappling with questions about safety, ethics, and control. Quantum computing advances, space exploration expands, and biotechnology enables previously impossible medical interventions. Environmentally, climate change becomes increasingly undeniable. Temperature records break regularly, extreme weather events intensify, and ecosystems show stress. Despite international agreements and growing awareness, carbon emissions remain dangerously high. The transition to renewable energy accelerates, but not fast enough to prevent significant warming. Economically, we see a complex picture of growth in some sectors, stagnation in others, technological disruption reshaping employment, and ongoing debates about wealth inequality. Cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies continue evolving despite volatility and regulatory uncertainties. Medically, post-pandemic research has accelerated vaccine development. Telemedicine has become normalized, and personalized medicine advances through genetic testing and AI-assisted diagnosis. However, healthcare access remains unequal globally, and new challenges like antibiotic resistance demand attention. None of these developments required mystical prophecy to predict. Experts in each field have been forecasting these trends for years based on data, research, and analysis. The real world is fascinating enough without needing supernatural explanations. Our look into prophecy, technology, and AI shows that there is no evidence supporting claims about Grok AI decoding Nostradamus. The interest in AI studying ancient texts reflects a shared search for meaning in uncertain times. Nostradamus's verses remain vague and open to interpretation, revealing more about human curiosity than actual prediction. AI programs like Grok don't predict the future. They process data and identify possible patterns. What matters is why people still turn to both prophecies and technology for answers. Their appeal shows a wish to understand change and feel secure amid global challenges. If you enjoyed this deep dive into prophecy and technology, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future videos.